I could literally run my whole life from this one framework. But it's not just a framework, it's a framework and a life management system. All right, so I'm going to finally explain how plaid works to you with like a demonstration, an over the shoulder look. I really just want you to understand and see how it works and what it does because I want you to look at different ways that you can use it. I use it to do a number of things, but you can use it in very different ways than I do. You can use it to set your life up and use the system and work from it on a regular basis, or you could use it and kind of have it as a tool that you can always refer to. So you may have other systems that you like using that work for you on a day-to-day basis, but this works as like a long-term reference tool for all the long-term planning you do. So every time you set out to start a new project or a new year or make birthday resolutions or want to make any changes in your life, you can refer to this to see what has mattered to you, what you have been working on, what changes you have always wanted to make, what things you have always wanted to be good at, what things you have always wanted to do. And you never have to start trying to think like, what was that thing I was interested in? Or what was that thing I was doing? Or what is that project that I never finished? Like this can serve as that tool for you. I'd love to know if you see this as something that grows with you or something that you can keep for long periods of time. I'd also like to know what area of your life or pillar of your life, you'll see what I mean by those in a minute, do you think would benefit most from this? Like if you look at it and you're like, oh, I would want to start this right now in blank part of my life. What part of your life is that? I'm super interested to know. All right, I'm going to stop talking and I'm just going to jump in and show you how the thing works. All right, let's go.
The first thing I want to show you is this infographic that shows you what the system looks like from the pillar down. Now, you'll see in a moment that there are going to be 8 pillars to every setup, but this is what it would look like if you had one pillar. So first you have the pillar at the top level, and then you have life areas. You can have more than 2. You usually will have more than 2. And then each life area will have divisions, and the divisions will be responsible for the projects. Any project you're doing in your life, anything that you're working on would be assigned to a division. And this layout is how PLAD got its name: pillar, life areas, and divisions. So let's talk about pillars. Pillars in the PLAD system are based on the 8 pillars of wellness. Everything you do in your life sits in one of those 8 pillars. And the 8 pillars are financial wellness, physical wellness, emotional wellness, mental wellness, social wellness, environmental wellness, occupational wellness, and spiritual wellness. When you set up your system, those 8 pillars will stay the same. At no point in your life will those ever change. To set up your pillars in your system, you'll give each pillar a mission, and the missions will guide your decisions. Your mission will help reveal when parts of your life or opportunities you're considering are out of alignment. So if you ever look at your life and you feel like you're doing a lot of things, but you don't really feel like you're getting anywhere towards your actual goals, or you don't feel fulfilled or satisfied with the way you spend your time, it's probably because the things that you want in the different parts of your life aren't getting addressed. And this is going to help you lay that out, map it out, get it down on paper so that you never have to sit with that feeling of just not being content because you feel like your life isn't together. This is going to help you get your life together once and for all so that everything that you do is always in alignment. And that starts with setting up your pillars. So let's look at my pillars really quickly. As I said, there are 8 pillars. These are my 8 pillars. They're going to be the same as your 8 pillars. What's going to be different when you look at my pillar setup versus your pillar setup is the missions. So if you see this gray text under the name of each pillar, that is the mission that I have for that pillar of my life. You can think about it like a mission statement. So essentially, your life will be made up of these 8 mission statements that all are responsible for these different areas of your life. This way, you don't have to come up with one mission that's supposed to encapsulate everything that happens in all parts of your life, but you can narrow it down so that the vision you have for your life can be expressed in these different missions. And this makes it easier to achieve the things that you want in life and have a state of balance and harmony in your life, because it's much easier to actually work towards these missions and see the results in your life. It's a little bit more measurable than having one mission statement for your entire life. Now, these are not written as SMART goals, and they shouldn't be. These are essentially just mission statements for these different pieces of your life. I wrote mine as things that I aspire to feel, be, have, or do in each of these parts of my life. Now, let's look at life areas, which are under pillars. Life areas are the biggest parts of our lives, and life areas remain the same for years. So, life areas contain the parts of our lives that we give the most time or energy to. How you organize your life areas will be specific to you. And just like we set missions for each pillar, you're going to set goals for each life area. And those goals will guide your actions. So, missions will guide your decisions. Life area goals will guide your actions. So let's look at some of my life areas. We're going to look in my occupational wellness pillar. Now, some folks might think about occupational wellness and just assume that it should just be comprised of things that have to do with your job. But that is absolutely not how I look at the occupational portion of my life. So, the way I look at occupational wellness is maintaining joy and fun and freedom in creating and how I spend my time. I don't think about my occupational wellness just as work, but I think about my occupational wellness as, am I taking care of myself as I occupy myself with whatever I choose to do for the sake of occupying my time or developing my skills or being the playful, creative person that I am. So, my pillar mission is to play and create with joy and the freedom to be wrong and make mistakes, trusting that any mistakes are always the right mistakes. This means that anything that supports this mission likely belongs in this pillar. And so, as a creative and business owner, my pillar is made up of life areas that, well, are about creating, having fun, and enjoying myself. So, of course, my business is a life area in the occupational wellness pillar. That makes sense. And likely your job or anything that you do for money will likely live in that space too. If you look at this in terms of hierarchy, my business and gaming are essentially at the same level. Now, do they do the same things for my livelihood? No. But do they do the same things for my occupational wellness? Sometimes. They both take up a lot of my life, they both take up a lot of my time, and they both bring me a lot of satisfaction. Just as indulging my creative side, making music, and learning things that I really want to know more about. These things are all important to me. And for me, they all make sense living in my occupational pillar, especially when you look at the mission. Now, all of these life areas have several divisions. I'm actually going to show you the music making divisions. Before I go into that, I just want to call something out. You might be looking at this and think, well, creativity and music making, like, shouldn't music making maybe be a division of creativity? And if you're asking that, it's a great question, because not only could it be, but it used to be. Creativity is kind of the life area that's a hub for all of the divisions around all the different creative ventures that I have or creative outlets that I have. But music making is something that I want to give a lot more time and attention. And because of that, and because of how expansive what lives under that has become, it actually had to graduate into a life area so that it could support divisions underneath it. And those divisions could each have their own sets of projects. Because it started to take up more space in my mind and in my life, it got promoted. And so now it's a life area. These things are incredibly specific to you. Something that might be a life area for you might be a division for somebody else, and vice versa. Or it may not make it into their system at all. So let's take a quick look at the music making life area and see what divisions live there. So when we look at this life area, there is a goal here. The goal is to tell stories vividly and steer emotions beautifully. That's it. That is the goal for me making music. And I recognized that that was the goal when I looked at the music that I was making and thought about what projects do I do that make me proud? What projects feel complete? When I'm working on something, when does it feel done? When am I happy with it? When is it something I want to share? And it's usually once I've finished something where I feel like I really did tell a story, or the feedback I'm getting is I can really see this whole thing playing out in my mind. And if I can pull on the heartstrings or bring you joy or help you tap into an emotion that you haven't felt in a while or that you just enjoy playing with, I'm thrilled. And so that's it. So any division that would live in this life area is going to be something that supports this goal. Before I show you the divisions in this life area, let's go back and talk about what divisions actually are. So you can think of divisions as business departments. Divisions can be permanent or temporary. So your divisions can change in under a year or they can stay the same for years. They can also graduate into life areas like we just saw with music making, or they can expire. So think, your single life after you're married, that kind of expires. So if you had a division that was helping you keep track of your dating and maybe your relationship coaching or anything like that, that division might expire once you get married. Divisions are segments of our life areas, and the focus you specify in each division identifies your priorities. All right? So at the pillar level, we have missions. At the life area level, we have goals. And at the division level, you have a focus. Your focus is going to outline your key priority or priorities in that particular division. And anytime you start a new project related to that division, it's going to need to support that priority. This is how you stay in alignment and make sure that you are not doing projects or saying yes to things for the sake of it when they don't actually support the vision for your life. So when you feel like you're putting a lot of effort into things and you don't really have anything to show for all you've done, it's likely that the things that you're working on aren't helpful to your vision or helpful to your life goals. They're not in alignment with your mission. They're not in alignment with your goals. They're not what you want to be focused on. And so you're putting a lot of effort and energy into things that aren't getting you anywhere. This is going to stop that. So now back at the music making ranch, we're going to look at the divisions I have in the music making life area. So right now there are 4 divisions for us to look at. There's digital production, parodies, songwriting, and vocal performance. All of those are going to contribute to me making music. And all of these divisions support the goal that I have in this life area to help me tell stories vividly and steer emotions beautifully. So for me, it's not enough to just be able to write the words to songs, but I'd also like to develop my ability to produce the music, which is why digital production is here. I also want to develop my ability to sing the songs well to steer those emotions. But for fun, I also write parodies. And still, with those, I stir up some other emotions. They're just usually less heartstringy and more hilarious. Okay. So for right now, we're looking at the digital production division. And the focus here is learn to compose backing tracks. So, some people would call this making beats. That is the focus. So that means any project that I'm going to work on that's related to my digital music production has to be focused on learning to compose backing tracks. Now, once I feel like I'm good enough at this that I can say I know how to do it, I can change the focus and start focusing on something else. So, this is a way to make long term progress on something. And when I say long term, I mean over the course of months, maybe, or years, right? Whenever I actually reach this focus, once I achieve this, I can change it to something else. But this means that I don't scatter myself thinking, all right, so I want to learn how to make beats. So I should learn how to make a remix, make flips. I don't need to be learning to sample stuff. I need to learn to compose a basic backing track. That is it. And so the project that I have right now is to create 5 backing tracks. That is what I'm working on now in this part of my life. All right. You see how this isn't about singing anything. This isn't about writing any songs. This isn't about any of that stuff. This project is very specific to this division. All right. If I were to try to create a project from my whole occupational wellness, I would be trying to do all of these things or try to do something that is so big that it's difficult to get done in a reasonable amount of time. This gives me a focus where I can, like you see below, I have a link to a YouTube video where I am just trying to learn to do one kind of thing. And once I can do that, then I can make another focus or another goal that's like, put together an EP, or I don't know, just compose one song with backing track, lyrics I've written, and vocals that I've recorded, right? We're not up to that. We're not doing all of that. We're taking this in pieces. All right. So this helps me segment everything so I can make actual progress, bite-sized progress, or one step at a time progress, and I can actually see what I'm working on. Now let's talk about projects really quickly. Projects help you make relevant progress by aligning with your division's focus. Projects are alignment validated combinations of objectives, tasks, and resources. Each project helps you make progress in the division. Progress trickles up, such that progressing the division progresses the life area and the pillar. Projects house your tasks and resources, which we're going to take a quick look at right now. So, we're going to take a look at this project, which is create 5 backing tracks. This is a project that is housed in the digital production division of my music making life area in the occupational wellness pillar. At the top of this project template, you can see the tasks that I have here. All right. In order to break down this project, I've set up the tasks as learning chord progressions, which I've been studying for years, but I haven't really studied it in the context of digital production on on production equipment. And then I gave myself deadlines for creating these tracks and then also refining these tracks because I want these tracks to be things that I can use. In my project template, I also have a few questions that I ask and a few pieces that need to be filled out. Usually these live at the top when I start the project template. And then once I finish them and fill in the tasks, I move the tasks to the top so that whenever I open the project template, I can see what I'm working on. But I go through these questions in this section first. So I have a project description, and then I have my key objectives so that I know what will it look like when I'm done, right? Because at the project level, I didn't talk about this, but we set objectives rather than goals. And my explanation for that will come in another video. Then I have key tasks, which help me at a glance know what are the main things that need to get done. And then I have the key leading and lagging indicators, which is a concept that I picked up from the 12-week year. And this concept really just helps you look at what are the things you actually have to do to get the results that you want A lot of times we look at our results and think that we're not making enough progress because we don't see the results. Like if you've been going to the gym because you want to get abs, you might think you're doing a good job because you have the abs. And so when you don't get the abs, you feel like, this isn't working. This is too hard. I'm not getting results. Don't try to measure the outcome. Measure what you're doing. If your job is to do 100 crunches a day and Russian twists and scissors and all of that stuff, then those are your leading indicators. How much of that are you doing? Worry about that. If you do those things, you will get the abs when it's time for the abs to come, when you've put in the work that your body needs for the abs to show up. But we focus so much on, are we getting the results that we want, that we don't remember to actually put in the reps. So the leading indicators are the reps. What are those reps that I need to do? If I do the reps, I will inevitably get the outcomes. So the tracks will be produced if I set aside time to create music daily or weekly. So instead of worrying about how many tracks I produce, what I need to be worrying about is setting aside time to create these tracks, which is why I had to put the tasks up there to actually do this stuff. So those things are dated and they can show up in my daily planner, which I will show you the daily template another time, so that I can actually schedule some time to make the stuff. Those leading indicators are important here. Now, let's look at this alignment piece, because I think this is the most powerful piece of this project template setup. And this is where you can see PLAD in action. Remember, we talked about pillar missions, we talked about life area goals, we talked about division focuses. And now that I'm doing this project, before I set the project up and put the tasks in, I have to answer these questions. One, what is the purpose of this project? Why am I doing it? Every project I do, I have to answer that question. And then I have to validate it, explaining how it's aligned with the mission of this pillar. How is it contributing to the goal of that life area? And how does it support the focus of this division? And you can see my occupational wellness mission, my life area goal, my division focus, all right there. And I have to answer these questions. How is it helping this? How is it moving me forward? If the answers to these questions are sufficient, it's appropriate to move forward with the project. If I can't answer these questions, then I need to question why I'm doing the project. This right here is the action portion of PLAD. Having filled out your missions, your goals, your focuses, having set up your life areas and your divisions will help you look at everything that's going on in your life and see all the things that matter to you, all the things you want to work on, all the things you want to have in your life, all the things you want to feel, do, and be in this life. But then when we start taking actions like projects and tasks and doing our daily planning or quarterly planning or yearly planning, weekly, monthly, any of these plans, any of these things that we do to take action on things, we can validate it against the framework that we have set up, that life blueprint that we have built by just filling in our pillar missions, our life areas and goals, our divisions and focuses. And you really only have to set that up once. You don't even have to set it up all at once. You can set up your pillars first and then start building in your life areas as things come up in your life and you're like, "Oh, I'm working on this. Let me make a life area real quick for that. Let me write that down. Let me add that to my system," whatever. So you don't even have to necessarily do it all at once. But once it's built out enough that you have a good portion of what you do in your life laid out in that way, oh my gosh, it is at that point a choice if you're ever doing things that don't support your vision. If you're ever operating out of alignment, if you're ever confused about what you should be doing with your time or feeling like you don't know why you're not making progress or why you don't feel satisfied or why you don't feel fulfilled or successful, because literally you can see your list of everything that matters to you. In fact, I'll show you. There is a page that I have laid out where I can just scroll through all of my goals and my focuses at a glance. Let's go see that really quickly. So this is a sneak peek at like how I planned my year in a day. I'm not going to go through all of this in detail. I'm going to scroll past it right? But what I want you to see is all of the divisions, every single division, and the focus is right there. If I ever want to know what I'm thinking about in any part of my life, I can look really quickly at everything that matters to me. All right. Same with my life areas. I can see what pillar they belong to, see the name of the life area, what is the goal in that life area. With my divisions, same thing. I can see the name of the division, the focus of that division, what life area it belongs to, and what pillar it belongs to at a glance. So if I'm ever feeling stuck or like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing with my life, or I just need to shake things up, or I just feel a bit lost, take a quick look and everything that matters to you, everything that you've written down, sitting right there waiting for you. And you can always pick back up where you left off. That is something that I love so much about this system, that if you ever start to lose yourself, Plaid will help you find yourself. And so that is essentially how Plaid works. All right. You've seen how we go from pillar to life area to division to projects, and how I even set up my projects. I can do a deeper dive video into projects and tasks because there are some things around that where I struggled in the past to differentiate something that was a project from a task. I used to call things tasks, but there were so many steps involved that they were actually projects. So I'll show you my task template that helps me not make that mistake and not bite off more than I can chew in a day. But something I really want to show you at another time is my daily planning template. Because all of these things are in this system, every time I start a new day and put up a new daily plan, I can just reference the notes from the other places. So I don't have to go looking through other apps or my paper notes trying to find things. Everything is linked right here. And I can always see if what I'm working on is appropriate for what I'm trying to do on that day, week, month, quarter, year, or part of my life.
What I'm really hoping to find out is how you can use a system like this for yourself. And you don't even necessarily need to use the whole system. I'm really interested to know which parts of the system you think would be most useful to you. Whether it's just setting things up and having the framework that you can always refer to, no matter which system you want to try that week, month, year, or whatever, or if having something that would help you continue to stay on target using this framework in the background is something that sounds useful to you. I'd also like to know which life area or pillar, if that's easier for you, you think would benefit from a system like this most. I'm going to be making more videos on Plaid. Some of them will be shorts, so hit subscribe if you want to see those because I don't know how those populate in your feed. So I think hitting subscribe is the only way to be sure that you actually see them and can watch the quick stuff where I explain just little quick wins that you can use Plaid to have in your life. All right. Thank you for watching and look forward to more of these because I clearly can't seem to stop talking about this system. And now I'm putting it out there so this doesn't have to be all I talk to you about in voice notes anymore. It's a win-win for everybody.
Woo! Child, it was hot in here. Oh, now that I'm done, it's a breeze. Now that I'm finished, there's an actual breeze coming in the window. That is crazy.